In his book, The Skillful Teacher, Stephen Brookfield highlighted the impact of emotions in learning and its presence in any learning environment. Actually, studies will tell us that our moods influence the way we perceive and appraise our environment. That means our emotions influence our thinking, the decision we make, and the things we remember. As an adult learner, I have seen how my emotions took part in my journey in the ALGC program, and I wish to share the results of my reflection on the affective component of my learning in graduate school. I am hoping that this could help future students by preparing them for their graduate school journey and by making them more intentional in constructing exciting, meaningful, and valuable experiences. And I wish to present these experiences using the analogy of adjusting with snow as an immigrant. These are the various stages that I went through in adjusting with snow as a newcomer in Canada. And I believe that they are also the best illustrations to represent my adjustment in the LGC program. The first stage is imagining snow. Back in the Philippines then, before I migrated to Canada, I was just imagining snow, how it feels, its texture, and even the taste. I was so excited to experience snow, so the emotions were generally positive at this stage. The next stage will be playing with snow. This started for me when I migrated to Canada. So the first thing I tried to find when I landed was snow. There was a lot of it. I touched it, played with it, and even tasted it. The snow was new to me and I was new in the place. So everything was novel. I did the usual snow angel, tried doing the snowman. I love it. I played with snow and my emotions were generally positive. But the enjoyment and excitement did not last. This was the cleaning stage for me. Living in Canada means I need to shovel and clean mountains of snow. But it was an expected modus vivendi in Canada. It was the end of my honeymoon stage with snow. I am living the real life as a resident in Canada. I did not like it and even feared snow days, especially living in Alberta. But then, it's part of being in Canada. But as we all know, we do not only clean snow, we walk in it. At first, it was hard for me, but as I keep on doing it, I've learned how to walk in snow and I got used with it. I mastered the routine, like bundling up before going out of the house, walking like a penguin, checking the weather before you go, and whatnot. I've reached a point that I can walk in the snow without even noticing it. In this walking in snow stage, I've learned to even love it and then hate it again. Sometimes I'm happy seeing it and appreciating the white, pristine color, but there are times that I just resent it. It was a roller coaster of emotions for this stage. After that walking on snow stage, here comes the skiing on snow part. After my love and hate relationship with snow, with all the slipping accidents and sliding in the middle of the road, I did not even notice that I developed my skills in living in a snowy place. In fact, I even learned how to ski. So in this stage, I was not just surviving the snow. I can live with it. I am living with it. This is the same story for my ALGC experience. From imagining it, I am now reliving the experience and practicing the knowledge I constructed from those experiences. Let's start with the first stage. Just like when I was applying to the program, when I was just imagining being a graduate student, I was so excited. There was a slight anxiety because I was worrying about my application. Will I be accepted? But honestly, I was really very eager to be accepted in UBC and enroll in an award winning online program. I was just focused on the flexibility and the reputation of the university. It was all exciting. That was all I was feeling. There were also some moments when my excitement was quickly interrupted by the thought of not knowing what to expect and the possibility of not being accepted into the program. But overall, I was just feeling very positive and excited. The entire time of waiting to be accepted, I was just imagining everything from students, instructors, tutors, assignments, and even the graduation. That was exciting and enjoyable. So, the playing with the snow part is actually the start of the program. So, this stage started when I got accepted. Again, I was very happy and eager to start with the program. The very fact that I got accepted in UBC made me really happy and excited. And this time, I was imagining it. I was in the program. At this point, I became more excited and eager to study. Even the thought of meeting people from different countries and culture was very motivating. And this was also the time when I started with the first course. And the experience was very positive. It was very positive that it gave me more confidence. The organization of the course and the involvement of the instructor and tutor was very crucial in this experience. Although it was in an online program, I felt that their way of managing the course was personal, and that was very encouraging. I felt the element of seriousness because of the active involvement of the instructor and tutor. That this is not the usual online program where you can complete it without even really exerting real efforts. And that was very motivating on my part, especially if you're studying to learn and not just to acquire a credential. This first course reassured me that I am off with something valuable as a learner. The, the clearing snow stage started in the second course. I had a lot of apprehensions and worries. This was the time when I started doubting myself because the demand of the course started interfering with my work. I needed more time and I really felt the difficulty of adjustment. I even went on leave from my work to do this course. I was worried about different things. I started comparing my abilities with other students. There was even a point when I was so conscious. It was all part of the adjustment. Maybe because the honeymoon stage or the imagining and playing with snow stages were over. And because it's an online program, I get to see my posts and of other students. Unlike in a regular classroom where you just speak, and if you commit a blunder, there is no record of it. You can simply forget and pretend you did not say it. What I mean is there's more electronic record trail of your participation in an online class, which by the way is very helpful. That is if you're ready to correct your mistakes and learn from it. But if you're too sensitive to the point of being so anxious of what you write, you will end up not posting anything at all and you just be a lurker. This stage will start at the third course up to the start of the last course. It is practically the major chunk of the program. This was like a roller coaster ride. I experienced varying degrees and mixtures of emotions, both positive and negative. At this time, I already know how to manage the demands of the program, and I'm more realistic of my weaknesses, what motivates me, what keeps me from studying, how to fight the urge of watching Game of Thrones, or joining friends in a nearby pub. I had a more realistic appraisal of what I can do as a learner and what I can't. That was very helpful because in online learning, you're in the midst of your personal and social setting. The TV, the bed, the phone call from a friend, a post in Facebook, the smell of Filipino adobo from your kitchen, and all the other reminders or temptations to stop being a student. They're all around you. Most of the time, I felt fulfilled in the program. Like when I'm able to finish an assignment. There was also pride, especially when I'm able to do what I need to do. Despite the work schedule, I get the same feeling when I'm able to overcome challenging situations, like rushing a project from work and at the same time working on a major assignment. And when I can say that I did an excellent job in both, I can really feel the fulfillment. In the middle of the program, I also realized the roles of instructors and tutors. It was also very encouraging when instructors are actively engaged in the course. like seeing their comments, emails, or any form of communication. It made me feel that they were really monitoring my progress. This did not only encourage me, but made me more confident because I know that my hard work was not being wasted, that my posts, assignments, etc. were being read and being studied by them. It made me feel that they were really trying to understand what I'm trying to share in a discussion or in an assignment. I felt very reassured. One of the best sources of satisfaction in this program was that I was able to apply what I learned from the program directly to my work as a facilitator. The learning journal in the first course was very instrumental in this, as well as the learning plan. It gave me a clear sense of purpose and guided me in tracking my objectives. It is very satisfying when you can use an approach from your discussion, or apply a strategy from a course, or practice a paradigm in how you do your work. And I have been sharing this with my friends and colleagues. The social justice component of ALGC was excellently embedded in the courses. That at the end of the program, I did not feel proselytized. Instead, I felt I was given a choice, and I naturally gravitated toward having a more fair and human perspective in terms of power, authority, and resources. I really felt engaged in the courses where I felt that my participation was needed. The questions and responses from other students served as acknowledgement that I am part of the class, and that encouraged me to participate more actively. Without the interaction with fellow learners, the intermittent feeling of alienation will be more pronounced in my case. One of the highlights of my experience in ALGC is the cultural diversity. I really enjoyed reading and learning from the experiences and context of other students in the other end of the globe. It was an awesome experience to have an access to valuable information from such a diverse group. Also, communicating and interacting with students outside the Listen platform was wonderfully encouraging. I really felt that I was a graduate student when I talked and chatted with other students, and that was very motivating on my part. There are also times that I second guess myself. I worry about offending students with the way I express my opinion and when I probe on their answers, thinking that the way I say things can be offensive in their culture. It was also challenging for me to interpret some online behavior. There were times that I was not sure if I needed to defend my answer, or I just had to treat a reaction to my post as normal in order not to appear defensive. Part of my experience in this program were those moments that I felt alienated, maybe because of the lack of face to face interaction and the emotional connection was limited. Unlike in a classroom setting, you cannot just express your frustration with your classmates in an online class. Even if you try calling other students or chatting with them electronically, the rawness of emotions and is really different in an actual situation. Because of this, I tried to keep my emotions to myself. But I was lucky to have a learning partner who was very attentive and responsive throughout the program. I expected the stress of juggling school and work responsibilities from the very start. Being able to study and work at the same time had some trade off, and I was aware of that. Honestly, it was the negative emotions that I nurtured in one course that made me think and feel that the program was too difficult for me. I started doubting myself and had a moment when I felt really demotivated. My emotions clouded my interpretation, and everything appeared not worthy of my effort at that time. But such interpretation was coming from my frustration as a learner and not because of the program. There were instances where the instructions for assignments and the standards in assessment were not clear. This contributed to my stress and sense of unpredictability, but those were very limited. Some groupmates were uncooperative and not participative in group assignments. That added to the inconvenience and difficulty of my journey. I was not sure if their behavior was their way of saying that they do not want to be in our group, or they were simply negligent, and that was stressful. It is important to note that, like walking on snow, there are times that you will accidentally lose traction. You will slip or slide on snow. In my academic journey, I had those encounters. These are make or break experiences that would really challenge you. In one of the courses, I had a health issue, and at the same time, I was doing a consulting project. As a result, my participation in the course suffered, and I was so dissatisfied with my final grade. This is one of those moments where I almost gave up. But looking back, I am very glad that I had to experience those things. It made me develop a more honest assessment of myself as a learner, and those were essential takeaways that I can utilize in understanding learners in my own learning program. Notably, the mix of emotions was present in all these stages. I was worried and apprehensive, but at the same time, I felt motivated to really learn and prove myself. There were times that I was so stressed out, yet I was still so engaged in the course. It was a dance of various emotions as a learner, and that roller coaster ride was a great reminder for me to overlook those difficult moments, those negative emotions, and to focus on those mini successes that would eventually lead me into one bigger accomplishment, the graduation. The last part of my snow story is the skiing on snow. At this end of the program, I can say that I survived the journey in ALGC and that I know how to survive it again. Just like I've learned how to walk in snow and eventually learned how to ski, the series of struggles in the program led me to understand its design and fully appreciate its goals. It is important to highlight that the positive emotions I've experienced in the program overshadowed the negative ones. So it's very important not to be stuck in those difficult and frustrating moments during your studies. Also, negative emotions are just the preludes to positive ones. Actually, they are necessary so we can fully appreciate our efforts and achievements in the program. I will say that burden would lead to fulfillment, confusion would lead to learning, anxiety would lead to assurance, and difficulty would lead to achievements. Now that I am retelling my story, I can only recall those negative emotions, but they are empty. They're almost semantic memories. It is the satisfaction, fulfillment, and pride that is surfacing from my recollection. I can say that those negative emotions are just necessary precondition for success. As a conclusion, I wish to highlight the role of tension and disruption. Negative emotions are creative tensions that disturb and disrupt our comfort zones. They encourage us to strategize and be more creative in searching for ways to maintain our sense of control. In my case, when I struggled in understanding a journal article, for example, it reminded me that I still need to learn a lot of things. And so I searched for ways to address that disruption by reading the material multiple times. And because of that, I've learned more things in the process, and I end up being thankful for not knowing the material at the start. Negative and positive emotions can co-occur and coexist. We have to acknowledge that. As learners, being aware of that fact enables us to understand our emotions and then eventually accept our unique way of reacting emotionally to different experiences. Only then that we are able to manage them. Lastly, mindfulness as a result of our reflection is our invaluable tool in the learning experience. Without it, we will be stuck in a negative emotion, believing it as the only true appraisal of our experience. But with mindfulness, we can realistically size up our abilities and we can challenge our ineffective assumptions. To borrow the words of E. Cummings, the snow doesn't give a soft white dam whom it touches. Just like knowledge, it does not choose. It's simply encountered and it is simply created by those who are willing. And just like snow, there's a limited supply of that in ALGC. Thank you so much.